Welcome to yet another ham radio video. Yes, you are watching the right video. But what does all this stuff have to do with digital modes and email over HF? Well, let's find out together. In the world of preparedness and contingency and things like that, one of the big themes is redundancy. And just like fire is a basic necessity, and my fire's still going, by the way, but I did that for demonstration purposes because, you know, day to day I cook either with electricity, or maybe you have a gas stove supplied by your utility company and electricity that ignites it. There's several levels of how you can heat and cook food and things like that, you know, a gas grill and even matches. So in a long-term survival situation, some of those things may run out or break down over time, so you have to fall back on some things, and you can fall back, run out of matches and all that. Well, something like a ferro rod, as you can see, works well. And even to go more primitive, you know, a flint and steel. And I have used this to start a fire. It's much more difficult than something like this. So that brings us to the topic of today of digital modes and how to communicate digitally. And there are a couple major reasons. So let's just start with the use case and, you know, why digital modes, why not, and stuff like that. So first of all, digital modes tend to get some hate from the other modes sometimes, and I can kind of understand that, especially like, say, the old school CW operators who really had to work hard on learning code and passing the code test to get up to their general or even their extra, and that took a lot of work, especially in those days before the internet, before all of these things that help us learn things like CW. And I think one of the major reasons is they don't see the digital modes as you know, a skill. So the way they see it is like, oh, anyone could push a button on a computer, and there is some truth to that, and that's kind of the reason why I have not become involved in digital modes up until this point. FT8, you know, arguably probably the most popular. I just not really interested in it because I'm not a computer person. I do enjoy, you know, voice contacts and Morse code, but I'm just really not attracted to computer type things. To me, it's more of a necessary evil, but it's part of life. It's part of life in this day and age. So the reason that I decided that I wanted to get into it was for preparedness, primarily, but you can also have some fun too with that. So we're going to talk about a couple of those ways here today. So being I'm not an expert, I'm not a computer person, I really just hope to answer two questions in this video. Number one, what do you need? And number two, what can you do with it? We did talk a little bit about why. You know, for me it was basically primarily the disaster response kind of thing. But just as knowing and having the tools like fire starting equipment, or say self-defense equipment or training, maybe, you know, there's a lot of people that train in like martial arts, and a lot of that training is, you know, we're not the aggressors, we don't want to have to use this, but if we need to, we can. The same goes with firearm self-defense. You know, it's a pretty dangerous person that owns a firearm that they've only shot one time, it went bang, so they know it works, and they think, you know, I'm gonna go and carry it around on the street. Where someone else that takes that sort of thing seriously and is proficient with it and continues to practice can be very, very safe and effective. So let's talk about the two things, my two objectives. Number one would be the disaster response, and the primary thing would be Winlink, or some way to send emails. So if there was a disaster, I mean, around here most likely would be a hurricane. Say we lose power and cell service and internet. We don't have anything of that. Mostly relaying information within the community for one, and then out to loved ones of people that care about the people here. So obviously we can do that with our voice modes and even with CW, but I think a big thing with the Hurricane Helene from last year was the use of sending emails. So what do you need? First question you need to ask is, have I ever hooked a computer to my radio? If you've done that, you're in a step in the right direction. Obviously you need the right types of cables, and there may be something else that you need in between. I'll just speak to my experience. So I have the Yaesu 710, which has an internal sound card. So again, I don't know a whole lot about the specifics of this, but it processes the information from the transceiver in a way that the computer can understand. And not every radio has that, so if you don't, you might need something like Signal Link USB or something like that. There's a lot of other videos out there on specific radios, how to use them for specific modes. I'm not going to get into all of that, just going to tell you what I've done. So for me, with the 710, or if you had an FTDX10, if you had an ICOM 7300, any of the more modern radios that have a sound card, basically you're just connecting a USB from the back of your rig to your computer. And for me, it's the same as a printer cord, which you may have laying around, I don't know. But those can be found very inexpensively at just about anywhere. So once that's installed, well, the next step that I had to take is there software in my computer to take that information and to put it somewhere into a program. So for the Yaesu, in that case, there is a universal driver that Yaesu offers as a free download. So you go into the Yaesu site, pick your radio. I believe they may be all the same. But anyway, you need a driver installed. You need to download that. So then when you go into, I like for Windows, that's Device Manager, and you look at the things that you can connect, your keyboard and whatever else is connected, it will show up as COM ports. So then when your ports are configured, you usually have two, like COM port 3 and 4, 4 or 5, whatever the numbers are. That's not the same for everybody. Now we can take that information and go to whatever programs. So I've experimented with things like N1MM Logger. You basically need to know, you need to have that to use that program. You need to set up those ports. So it's kind of all similar. You need to know some of the settings from the radio and match that up to put that information into whatever program you're using. And like I said, I could get into that, but that would get to be very long, so I'm not. I may put some links to some other videos that have helped me. And then as far as the email, I mean, there are possibly many other ways to do it, but what you're looking for is Winlink Express. So if you download Winlink Express and get that set up, there's a menu on there. So that's, kind of the big picture thing. And then there's different, within that, there are different features you can use and different types of ways to transfer that information. And for what I'm doing today, we are using VARA, V-A-R-A. So that's another program that you need to download to be able to use that, varAHF. And just to note, they offer a free version which will enable you to try it out, and it will work. It's just has some limitations, so it may not be as fast, especially if you want to send pictures and more complicated things. If you want to just send a very short basic message, that should work out fine. After trying it out, I did end up purchasing the lifetime license agreement, so that is mine now, and I'll be able to use all the fullness of that program. So what you want to do is to set up an email to go out. Let's just I'll go through a screenshot and then maybe walk through that. So I have Winlink open. So what I would do to send a message, go to message, click on that and new message, and it's just like sending a regular email here, to, from, subject, etc. Type your message. Once you have completed that, you need to go post to Outbox. So that, I'm not going to do it now because I'm not hooked up, but that would post it in Outbox. So the next time that you were connected, it would know that there's something in there that needs to be sent, and would send that email. So it's kind of just a way to hold it until you are connected, and then you would hit open session and then get connected. You find a channel. This would look up. I'm not connected to the radio now, so it's not going to find anything. Right, so it says I can't find anything. But there are, you would do the channel selection. You would go to all of these and pick one of those. So that's another radio that's connected somewhere. You would connect to them, initiate that connection, and then once that happens, the outbox, what needs to be sent, would be sent. And if anyone has sent you messages, it would show up there as well. So one of my tests I sent to my buddy Tim, K5OHY, asked him if he knew anything, he'd never done this. He said, "Hey, I know very little about Winlink. You have to make a video. Teach me, LOL." So that's basically how you do it. I hope that's enough. Again, there's several other videos that go into more detail. So now that we're able to send a basic email, which is very important, and that's that disaster contingency type thing, you can also do some things that are enjoyable, make connections with people and just for fun, but also have the capability to communicate if needed, without the grid down scenario or whatever it be. So the other thing that I have been using is called varAC, V-A-R-A-C. So it's connected through VARA that we talked about before, but this is an application that turns that into a platform where you can do some other things. So the main thing that I have been doing, and again, I just got this working yesterday. I made a little short video on that. But you can do some person-to-person chat. It's kind of like the old days of a chat room, and you get into the room and you see a list of people who are also on, and then you can connect to them individually. Let's check that out. Okay, so here is my very first digital QSO. I was able to make a connection here using varAC and connected with a guy up in Ontario. So you can see in the bottom left corner it's switching back between TX and RX as I type. It will send the message, then it will listen and go back and forth. So we had a nice little chat here. Kind of reminds me of the very early days of internet instant messaging when the internet was very slow. And this is kind of how it was. You'd type and then you sit back and wait, and I actually did a lot of that long before the days of when I got into ham radio and some other things. So it works very similar to that if you remember those days. So what I like about the varAC, and even in their own materials where they talk about it, I'll put a link to that. It kind of was designed to put the fun back into it and the person-to-person connection back into it, rather than something like FT8 where it's just a basic exchange and that's about it. In the old days there was, PSK and some of these other things that, where you could actually chat keyboard to keyboard and things like that, and you could have a conversation with somebody. So that makes it a lot more fun and is more appealing that way if for whatever reason you get tired of the other modes or band conditions or something else is prohibiting that. You may be able to meet some hams all over the world through this application. So let me know what you think. If you decide you want to get into this, send me an email through Winlink. I'd love to see that, and hey, I'm just testing it. That'd be something you could do. I'd enjoy to hear from you on that. Or if you see me online with the varAC program, yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to hear about that as well. So I hope this is enough to get you started. Like I said, I just got started in this, but I just want to encourage you that it's not that difficult. You don't need to be, a computer whiz to figure all this stuff out. And of course, like I've said several times, there's many videos out there that will probably help you with a specific problem, help you link a specific radio to whatever you're doing with whatever program. This is just a general video to just kind of say more about it, give my perspective as a person who admittedly is not a computer person, don't really like that kind of stuff, but I was able to get on and use it without too much trouble, so I hope you can too. Thanks for watching. This has been yet another ham radio video. This is JKQ4DUX. See you on there, 7-3.